Hey guys, how's it going? This is Brian with UFO Book Review. I'm back with another book, and today I'm going to be reviewing Flying Saucers Top Secret by Major Donald E. Keyhoe. He is a U.S. Marine Corps retired director of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, more commonly referred to as NICAP. Now, the reason I picked up this book, you may be able to tell from the cover, it's actually pretty old. I mean, this is a 50-year-old book. It was written in 1960, so it's very, very old. At least I think it's old. 50 years um, is a number of years ago. Something that I found interesting about this book right away, if you look at the back cover, this is reviewed by the Columbus Dispatch, the Springfield Republican, Los Angeles Daily News, Navy News Review, and the Cleveland Press. I'm not exactly sure how many of those have changed their names since 50 years ago, or which ones are still in operation. But this seems to be reviewed in the mainstream back then. And also, what's interesting with Donald Keyhoe, he he's one of the first guys really to bring UFOs into the public spotlight. If you read any UFO literature nowadays or watch any documentaries, most of them are going to be recalling some of his information. So this is like the reason why I picked this book up is because it's like right on the forefront of ufology. And I mean, 50 years ago, it's interesting. In this book, you can really get a grasp of what's going on, because a lot of the cases they're reporting happened like in 1957, 58, 59. So, I mean, you're only a couple years removed from the information, whereas today we're more than 50 years removed from what's going on in this book. So, in that respect, it's very interesting. Something I found kind of hard to read about this book was that the grammar and the syntax is a lot different than the way we talk today. In fact, if you read this book, you're going to notice words like, they may say something like, "What's the dope on the story?" I mean, nobody uses the word dope, at least not like that anymore. So that was interesting. They'll use words like snafu. Um, we gotta, or man, that story's bunk. So bunk, snafu, dope. I mean, these are just some of the words you'll pick up on. And there's also some other things like when they're talking about technology. Because keep in mind, again, this is 50 years old. So when they're reviewing some of the UFO cases and sightings, they're in this book. They're having some conversations back and forth as to um, where are these things, where are the UFOs coming from, and they pretty much take the position in this book that they are extraterrestrial, meaning they're not from planet Earth, because there's no way we could manufacture these things. So pretty much in this book, everything is taken the perspective of they're extraterrestrial. So there's a lot of conversations going on in this book as to where they can come from, and they speculate maybe the planet Venus, maybe planet Mars. There's a lot of talk about there being radio transmitters on the planet Jupiter. I mean, this is what's in this book. It's not what I'm saying, it's what's in this book. Um, they talk about Alpha Centauri, I think you pronounce it, which is a little over more than 4 light years away from Earth, which is like our closest star system. So they think, well, maybe visitors are coming from that star system. It's only just over 4 light years away. Um, so it's interesting to get perspective as to what people 50 years ago thought about the phenomenon. It's also interesting to see too in this book. They're trying to discuss, well, how can a machine travel this fast? And they're talking about, well, Albert Einstein has been theorizing, or he's recently said that about this theory of relativity. So they're discussing this. So that's a pretty new theory of the day is Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, talking about the speed of light and time dilation. About how, for those of you who are not extremely familiar with Einstein's theory of relativity, basically when something travels at or near the speed of light, you experience an extreme time dilation. In that, for example, someone were to be on Earth and I were to get in a spaceship and travel at the speed of light, I may only be gone for a year, but when I come back, everything on Earth is going to now have gone years and years and years and years and years now into the future. And I'll only be a year older. So I don't want to get into detail about that. It's kind of hard to explain, but theory of relativity. So they're talking about that. And this book is also like basically what's happening in this book is this committee called NICAP is trying to gather information and trying to convince congressmen to hold congressional hearings on the UFO phenomenon and to try to alert the public. So I mean that's like this whole book. And what happens is basically every step of the way the Air Force is there to stall them or to stop the process in somehow or to give false information, and so it's back and forth the whole entire book. Now, as far as what I think about the book, as far as readability, I'm going to rank this on 1 to 5 stars. Readability, I give it like a 3 because, like I already mentioned, the grammar and the syntax is really old, and also the way in which the information is presented. There's a lot of back and forth conversations between Keyhoe and another gentleman, and one guy will say a sentence, the other guy will say a sentence, the other guy says a sentence, and that gets really old and it's repeated numerous times throughout the book. So readability, I give it a 3 stars out of 5. As far as the importance of the book is concerned, I would say you would have to give this a 5 because this is 50 years ago. This was on the forefront of ufology, and this is really when people are really trying to figure out what this thing is, what's going on, and it's more in the mainstream. Like it's not as taboo as it is today. And a lot of researchers and people in ufology nowadays refer to Keyhoe's work and that of also of NICAP's work. And you'll notice in a lot of books that you read nowadays, they're citing a lot of NICAP cases or they're citing Keyhoe's books in general. So in importance, I give this a 5 stars. And again, readability 3. So overall, I'm just going to split the difference and give it a 4 star. It's not something I want to read again. I mean, I have to admit, I struggled through some of it because to me it was boring, a lot of it, but again, some of it was really interesting. So for that, I give it 4 stars. Readability, 3. Importance, 5. Overall score, Flying Saucers Top Secret, 4 stars. So anyway, I think that's all I have to say about this book. If you can find it, go ahead and, I mean, you might want to pick it up because it is very historical work, and it's, I mean, if you're interested in ufology, you need to know something about Donald Keyhoe. I mean, you can't study ufology without studying his work. Also, next review I do, I'm probably going to do a book on Roswell. So I think I'm going to do Witness to Roswell. So stick around for that one. And until next time, thanks for watching the show. Peace out, guys.